The Arkansas Grazing Lands Coalition, in partnership with the Natural Resources Conservation Service of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, is pleased to present this water structure instructional video. The video will show the steps necessary to install a prefabricated ball tank, often called a freeze-proof tank, according to the specifications in the Arkansas NRCS Environmental Quality Incentives Program, commonly called EQIP, for the purpose of providing permanent water structures for managed grazing. You'll be able to see for yourself what's required to install this type of tank. Plus, you'll receive important tips to ensure its dependable operation. Ball tanks are recommended for use with high-pressure water source systems and rural water systems. They're not recommended for use with ponds or low-flow systems. The livestock watering system must have an engineering pipeline design completed by Arkansas NRCS prior to installation. This design will specify the required minimum pipe depth. Arkansas NRCS technicians are available to conduct field visits on your property, preparing an initial survey to determine the location for water source piping and the design for the system. This service can be received regardless of whether you have or are seeking an Arkansas NRCS financial assistance contract. Remember to always call 811 to have existing utility locations marked before you begin digging. This prevents the need for costly repairs and ensures personal safety. Also remember that depending on your available time, equipment, and expertise, you could install the tank yourself or use professional contractors. If you're just beginning managed grazing, spend some time planning the location of your future pastures, including additional watering points and fences. This will influence the location and orientation of your permanent tanks. Ideal travel distance for livestock is less than 800 feet to a watering point. Water bodies within 800 feet of the proposed watering site will need to be excluded from livestock with a fence. The land surface at the tank site should be cleared to accommodate a concrete pad that will support the tank. The pipeline has already been installed at this site. In some counties in Arkansas, you'll have the option of sourcing prefabricated concrete pads. Otherwise, you'll have to pour the concrete on site. For this video, a prefabricated pad was available. The pad is lowered carefully over the water source pipe riser, and then it's checked with the level. Note the black thermal tube around the water source pipe riser. This tube lets the natural heat from underground travel up the riser and into the tank to guard against freezing. The lid is lifted off the tank, and the plumbing parts and balls are removed from where they're stored inside. The tank used in this video is a Ritchie brand tank, but there are several different brands available. Producers need to ensure tanks purchased meet Arkansas NRCS specifications. The positioning of the tank on the pad is double-checked. An insulation sleeve is placed over the water source riser as additional freeze protection. Manufacturers also make ball tanks with heaters, but you must have access to electricity. To further protect from freezing, ball tanks should not be placed in the shade. You can see here the position of the riser inside the tank and the hose to connect the water source to the float. The riser is trimmed even with the top of the concrete pad, and the insulation sleeve is pushed down slightly. The reducer bushing and emergency shutoff valve are added to the piping. It's recommended every tank have at least one shutoff valve. A permanent watertight connection is essential for fittings. Always follow manufacturer recommendations when using cleaners, primers, and glues. After glue is applied, quickly rotate 1/4 of a turn and hold the two joints together until the glue bonds. The position of the holes for the anchor bolts is marked on the concrete pad. This is a simple step to ensure that you drill the concrete pad in the proper place. Level the tank before drilling the holes for the anchor bolts. A level tank allows maximum water capacity and allows the floating balls to more properly provide freeze protection. Holes are drilled into the concrete for the anchor points. Once holes are drilled, ensure they're cleaned all the way to the bottom prior to inserting anchor bolts. Place the tank onto the pad to check alignment of anchor bolts. Weather stripping is attached to the bottom of the tank to seal it to the pad. This is extra protection against freezing temperatures. Weatherproof caulk is also applied to the tank. The tank is placed on the pad for the final time. The bolts are placed through the tank and fastened. The plug for the bottom of the tank is wedged in and can be removed. It's suggested that you remove the plug and clean the tank periodically for improved drinking water quality. The flexible hose is used to attach the water supply line to the float assembly. The adjustable float is attached to the water discharge valve. The float setting will determine when water is turned on and off for filling the tank without overflow. The balls are placed inside the 4 wells in the tank. The balls keep the air off the water surface, protecting the water from freezing, keep debris out of the tank, and reduce sunlight infiltration that causes algae growth. The lid is placed on top of the tank, and now you're ready to prepare the heavy use area. You must be able to level the tank and have an 8-foot minimum protected area around the tank. The area called a heavy use area will have filter fabric covered with rock to protect the soil base from livestock impact. Gravel is placed on top of the filter fabric starting near the tank and working backward toward the outer edge. The gravel must be at least 6 inches thick to meet NRCS specifications. The tank is now ready to use. If your cows have never seen a ball water tank, they may have to be trained. They have to learn to push the ball down to get the water. You may have to introduce the tank to the cows at first without the balls.